Hello, everybody. Welcome here. Welcome back. This is probably the weirdest thing I've chosen to do out of all kinds of weird things I choose to do. But I still have this much wine left from what I bought tonight. Normally, I just leave my alcohol at wherever I go because that's how I was raised. You take whatever alcohol and you just leave the rest. But I have had friends that I would take like a 26 or a vodka or something, and we'd go somewhere, or a 40 ouncer, and you have a few drinks, and then you just leave whatever's left, even though it might be most of a bottle. You just leave it. That's how I was raised. And then that was very different than the younger people that I would hang out with, and they go, no, you take it with you. If there's anything more than just a small amount left in the bottom, you take it with you. Now, not how I was raised, what I did tonight. And I would have just left this. But since I didn't leave it, I'm going to drink this tonight, which is probably the stupidest choice I have made in about 3 decades. But we will make that together. We will just see. So I brought I've been struggling because I have 2 fingers I can't really use and a thumb I can't really use. So I'm trying to steady everything with what I've got. So I'm going to use this mug, and I'm going to, if I can use that thumb, and we're going to pour that in. This is what I've been doing all night, trying to use my fingers appropriately. Oh, cool. So it's just really 1 glass left. One really, really full glass left. Not necessarily the smartest choice I've ever made. And hopefully not the dumbest. I have made particularly really dumb choices in my life. And I'm hoping this is not one of them. I don't know. Does that seal on there? Oh, it would help if I went the right way. Locked. Empty and locked. So I have this very, very, very full cup that I would show you, but it would pour out. It's right to the top. And I'm not sure whether this is a smart thing to do. I will determine later whether appearing this way on film is smart in any fashion whatsoever. But it is very, very authentic. It's really important to me. It is really very important to me. I find honesty and accuracy to be far more informative than people that hide things. I have no desire to hide anything. I keep wanting to burp. It is authentic for me to not drink a lot. I have in the past drank lots compared to now. But when I was, let's just have a conversation. When I was younger, what we had were bush parties. When I was in high school and even grade 7 and 8, we had bush parties. We went to the wilderness and we would sneak alcohol from our parents. Not necessarily tons. It wasn't about taking tons of alcohol. When you're not used to having any, a little bit is lots. So we would take a couple of bottles of beer from our parents and you sneak back the empties. And it was just a rite of passage. You went to went to the bush party, you had a little alcohol, and then by the time you get to high school, you would take, well, for me, I would take a 6-pack. And I would drink 3 of them and give 3 away. And I was absolutely drunk. And that was fine. Other people, especially those on the football team, would say, I could drink a 2-4 and not even feel it. And I'm like going, well, I get wasted from half a 6-pack. Like, who is the fool? If you're drinking a 2-4 and not feeling it, why are you wasting your money? What a dumbass that would be. But you know, if that's how you choose to spend your money and that's what you choose to do, fine. Who am I to say anything? But if you're going to use that like that makes you better than somebody, I just think you're a fool. But I digress. And you will find I digress a lot. It's just who I am. Lots of things catch me off guard, take me off on side tracks. I try to come back to where I am, but things are what they are. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know why I'm doing this. It's just a dumb, I've already had plenty. But since that's all that's left, why would I not see what happens now that I'm safely at home and not going to be a problem to anybody else in existence? See what happens if I just keep drinking, because it is not my forte. It is not what I normally do. And it may very well be just the absolutely stupidest thing to do, but I will find out and it will be documented. And that's all that matters. Oh, good Lord. My hair is all tangly today. So tangly. This is my favorite wig of all the hair hats that I have, because I like the color of it. I have one that's slightly lighter, but it's exactly the same style, and I like it very much too. But this is the color that I think is my favorite. It's just a little bit deeper than the other ones, but it still has some lightness, and I really love this color. And it was $24 off of Amazon. I don't really remember which specific company it came from. I wish I had. I would buy like 20 more of them in all the colors, because it is, the quality of this wig for a hard front for $24 is exceptional. Like the hair quality, the fibers, they feel so real. And I have human hair wigs. I have all these different kinds of wigs, and they really don't match the price that each one cost. They really don't. I have really expensive human hair wigs that are crappy. I have some cheap human hair wigs that are wonderful. This particular wig is a very inexpensive wig for $24. I have $90 wigs with a lace front that aren't this good. So I don't know how to tell anybody how to shop for a wig, because it's not price. You have to just check them. And unfortunately, if you're buying from Amazon, you really can't even feel them. But the ones that I actually felt in real life that bought and spent $90 plus tax, that are nowhere near as good as this, I chose them because I could feel them and put them on and try them. Doesn't make a difference. So I hope everybody gets something from that, even though it's just kind of absolutely pointless information. Should I watch something on YouTube? Maybe I'll watch something on YouTube. I don't know. I am so...
Low-budget 80s summer camp slasher flicks are always a ton of fun. Being stuck inside one is not. That's exactly what happens to this group of modern-day teenagers when a fun movie screening actually transports them inside of the movie, where they come face-to-face with the movie's masked killer. And if you thought Scream was a funny satirical commentary on slasher films, wait until you see what this one has in store. With no way to escape the movie and its tropes, and with a machete-wielding villain hot on their tails, we're here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to survive the final girls. Welcome to Camp Blue Finch, where romance in the sun can actually turn deadly. That's the opening line of this movie, which is about a movie inside of a movie. Meta, right? Max, our main character, is waiting in the car for her actress mom, Amanda, while Amanda has an audition. Max watches a trailer on her phone for the movie Camp Bloodbath, some old 80s slasher flick that Amanda starred in as a lead and is now sort of her claim to fame. Camp Bloodbath is about a group of camp counselors who are hunted down by a masked killer named Billy. There's hot girls, fun, and bloody kills. Over-the-top acting, all the tropes. Anyways, Max is into it and obviously loves her mom a lot. Amanda comes out of the audition sighing, upset that the casting directors only recognized her for Camp Bloodbath instead of her more serious and credible roles. Amanda wishes she was known for more than just a slasher movie she was in 20 years ago. But, I mean, what's so bad about being an iconic scream queen of a now-cult classic? Own it! As they drive off, Max brings up the electric bills that they need to pay, while Amanda complains about some situationship who is sort of ghosting her right now regarding some trip to Palm Springs he was supposed to take her on. Max says screw him, because she's so better than him, and goes back to worrying about the bills. Amanda grabs the bills and throws them out of the car, tells Max how much she loves her, and they jam out to their little song on the radio, which happens to be Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes. Max accidentally spills her milkshake on Amanda's headshots, which Amanda panics and says are very expensive, and in the distraction, they get into a serious car crash in which Amanda is killed.
Okay, first of all, I know we need some death in the family trauma to start the movie, but this death was totally avoidable. It's not like it was a freak accident out of their control like what happened in The Descent, lamb skewer style. This was literally just because they were goofing around and distracted about the milkshake spilling on Amanda's headshots, and she swerved into the other lane. The accident was their fault. Look, I get being an actor is tough in this day and age, but printing headshots and resumes, it's not really that expensive. These bitches aren't even on matte or glossy finished paper. That's just on your standard go to Office Max and get them printed out type shit, which in 2015, printing an A4 page like this with colored ink is 10 to 15 cents per page maximum, and the shake didn't even spill on all of them, if anything. It only would have soaked through the top few pages on the stack, so the headshot and the resume stapled together are 2 pages at 15 cents per page, and let's just say the shake ruined 5 bunches of them, just to be generous. 2 by 0.15, that's $1.50. Is Amanda really worrying about $1.50? Plus, if you went to the public library, which is the Los Angeles Public Library, they literally have over 70 branches, and you can print that for free.
I can copy in black and white on ordinary paper. I can make 7 copies in minutes.
And girl, for someone stressed about some soggy headshots, you just threw your electric bill out of the car window. Point is, they could have been a little bit cooler about Amanda's death. I guess we can let this be a PSA about distracted driving. Don't swerve into the road and get yourself killed, people. Otherwise, 3 years later, your daughter is going to get stuck in one of your old movies, and it's all gonna get hella weird.
3 years later, Max lives with her aunt and is still hella depressed and spends her time watching old videotapes of her mom. Max is picked up by her friend Gertie, and they immediately start talking about this guy that they're about to meet up with, Chris, and how Gertie thinks Chris is into Max. Which he totally is, given the way he stumbles and fumbles whenever he talks to her. Either way, they're at this diner studying together for Max's classics class that she is failing. When Duncan, Gertie's stepbrother, comes rushing in asking why Max has been ignoring his messages to Max's annoyance. Now, Duncan here is a huge Camp Bloodbath fan. Side note, they call themselves the Bathmaticians, which isn't the worst fan base name, but it's also not the best. Duncan shows them all a poster for a special Camp Bloodbath 1 and 2 double feature screening happening tonight, and he was hoping Max would go since She's the daughter of the Amanda Cartwright. Mostly, Duncan just wants to use Max and be cool by association. He goes on about how Camp Bloodbath is the best campsite slasher film of all time, and tells Chris how Amanda's character Nancy is the shy girl next door who loses her virginity to a stupid jock and gets cut up by the killer Billy on a waterbed. Max tells him to get lost and tries to leave, but Duncan bribes her by offering to do all her classics assignments for the year. And Max, not wanting to fail the classes which would prevent her from graduating high school, relents. Honestly, facing just one evening of traumatic grief for a whole year of free homework? I mean, it sounds like a deal to me. Gertie joins Max to the screening, and they run into Chris again, who says he's here for moral support, but we really know it's so he can hang out with Max. So smooth. Gertie goes to get popcorn as an excuse to leave them alone together, like an excellent wing woman, and Max reveals that today is the anniversary of her mom's death. Chris apologizes, but Max plays it off by saying at least she gets to see her on the big screen, even if it's watching her be chased by a psycho killer with a machete in a movie. Now Vicky, Max's former best friend and also Chris's ex-girlfriend, rocks up to the screening too because she saw Chris's social media post about it and tells everyone that she's taking Adderall because she's so stressed about college, and she keeps flashing her Adderall pill container. Did I mention this girl takes Adderall and is super proud about it? Duncan is so excited to see that Max came and begs her to do a Q&A after the screening as well. Everyone cheers as the screening begins, and the movie starts with the in-movie characters, Kurt and Tina, driving to camp in a yellow van. Nancy, played by Max's mom Amanda, wakes up in the back of the van, and Max watches happily. In the movie, Nancy delivers an expositional monologue flashback about the killer, Billy, and how he was picked on for being different and ugly at camp. The counselors hated him, and the other kids bullied him. And one summer, the counselors played a prank on him by throwing firecrackers into the outhouse Billy was hiding in. During the scene where Nancy and the jock Kurt are about to have sex, someone in the movie theater drops a bottle of alcohol that rolls and spills across the floor, while another person lights up a cigarette. A piece of ash drops on the floor, and the whole theater erupts in flames. Everyone panics as the exits are blocked, but Duncan says there's an exit behind the screen. So Max grabs a prop machete that someone dropped on the floor, goes up to the screen, and slashes through it. The gang steps through the screen, and this is where they're suddenly transported into the movie.
Which is really an interesting premise.
Now this part is trippy. Nancy lights a candle in the movie at the same time that the audience member lights his lighter. Max slashes through the screen with a machete at the same time Billy slashes in the movie. Now, of course, Max and the gang don't know this was likely the cause of their Jumanji-ass adventure waiting for them, but it's interesting to note that if they ever get stuck in this shit again, let's be careful about movie reenactments from now on, yeah? Okay? In terms of surviving a fire and getting out of this room, the number one rule in situations like this is don't panic. The reason all the exits are blocked is because people are freaking out like wild turkeys. I would also look for a fire extinguisher. Legally, movie theaters have to have fire extinguishers on every floor, according to the National Fire Protection Agency, which has to be within 75 feet of anyone who needs one. And remember that if you have to escape through smoke, to do so by staying low and getting under it. Also, call 911. Why do people in horror movies just hate calling 911? If there's no alarm, no extinguisher, the only exit is genuinely behind the screen, then yeah, sure, hacking through it could be a logical move, but it would still be good to check what you're walking into before just blindly stepping into an alternate universe. Have you ever felt a strange presence in your own home? That unsettling feeling that something just isn't right? If you've been seriously injured in an accident, that feeling of unease might be more than just a ghost in the machine. Insurance companies often try to spook you into accepting lowball offers. They might make the claims process seem complicated and mysterious, hoping that you'll give up. But you don't have to navigate to get the compensation you deserve if you become friends, and you're only a few clicks away from back to the show. Max, Chris, Vicky, Gertie, and Duncan all wake up in a super bright and saturated world, emerging from the woods onto a dirt road entirely confused. They see the same yellow van from the Camp Bloodbath movie approaching just like it does in the movie. The characters in the movie, the stereotypical jock Kurt and the stereotypical token hot girl ditz Tina, stop the van to ask the gang for directions to Camp Blue Finch.
but everyone is too shocked to respond, and the van drives off. The gang freak out thinking that they're all having some joint episode, dream, or hallucination and start walking down the road. 92 minutes later, they're suddenly back in the same spot on the road and the van returns. Tina asks the way to Camp Blue Finch in the exact same way as she just did, and the gang realize that they're stuck in some sort of time loop, which is confirmed when Duncan uses his watch to time another 92 minutes until the van once again comes rolling up. This time when Tina asks the way, Duncan lies that the gang are all counselors at the camp, and that they can show them the way if they can hitch a ride, much to the gang's surprise. But they go along with it since no one else has a better plan, and none of their phones have any service. They all squeeze into the van, and Duncan, the fanboy that he is super into this immersive experience, and super into Tina, knowing she gets super naked in the movie. Calm down, Duncan. Nancy wakes up in the back of the van just like her character does in the movie, and Max is shocked to see her mom's face and hear her mom's voice in the flesh. They get to the camp, the characters all say their lines in the movie on cue, and Duncan watches in excitement at the realization that they're all literally in the movie as the real movie scenes play out in front of them. Gertie and Vicky ask how the hell they can get out of there, and Duncan says that it's 1986 in the movie, so they technically don't even exist as people yet, so it's not like they have homes to go back to in this world. Vicky and Gertie ask Kurt if they can borrow his van, thinking that they can use it to drive away, but very dickishly throws the keys away for them to go find. Max approaches Nancy to get a better look at her mother, and Nancy tells her that she and Kurt are planning to have sex later. Nancy is a virgin and told herself she wanted to lose her virginity this summer, and figured Kurt would be good since he's so experienced. Knowing that all the characters who have sex in the movie die, Max discourages Nancy from going through with it, but Nancy isn't fazed because Tina has raved how great sex is. Chris pulls Max away to help them look for the keys, and Max once again warns Nancy to stay away from Kurt and keep her shorts on. Nancy realizes that none of the gang are on the counselor's roster and wonders where the hell they came from. The gang looks for the keys and comes across a scene in the movie where two characters hook up in the woods. They hear sound effects of Billy coming, but Duncan, excited to have a front row seat to the killing scene, wants to stay and watch. Billy pops up and kills both characters, as planned, and throws the dead body in front of the horrified gang. Everyone tries to run away, but Duncan, again, excited to see Billy this up close, assures everyone that they probably can't die here because they're not real characters for the movie. He says that in order to leave the movie, they probably just have to wait until the movie is over. In this case, Camp Bloodbath ends with the final girl, Paula, who arrives in the next scene, kills Billy with his machete. Speaking of the final girl, Paula, Duncan realizes that she's the only character who doesn't die, and they should all just stick with her for the rest of the movie so that they have a front row seat to all the battles and the epic end fight scene. Duncan goes to take a selfie with Billy, and Billy stabs him across the side with his machete. So much for his theory of real people being untouchable in this movie. The gang tries to run away, but they realize that they're once again stuck in another weird time loop, running in circles because the movie itself won't let them leave.
Okay, pause. First of all, let's go back and ask why they would spend all this time looking for keys in the grass like idiots when they could just easily jump in the van. But fine, they're in the woods looking for keys, and they see Billy. And I don't even know what to say about Duncan, but I definitely wouldn't take a selfie with Billy. What the f***? It's been established that the deaths of these characters inside this world are real. So it's logical to say that Billy's weapon is also going to be real. You know, we don't know a lot about this world, so are we really just going to blindly trust what Duncan has to say about it?
I would never
For me, I would just hide out in the counselor's house and mind my own business as I wait for the movie to pass along. Personally, I would have run away as soon as Billy so much as looked at me. They've seen the movie and the flashback scene. They know Billy mainly targets counselors for his revenge. So even if I'm not immediately running, I'm sure as bargaining. Honestly, Billy kind of seemed like he was chilling until Duncan started harassing him. So maybe just don't do that. Let this be a PSA to all crazy fanboys. Y'all gotta chill. Not to mention they totally just leave Duncan's body in the woods here. Like, Okay, your friend and your stepbrother just died in front of you, and you're not even going to try and spare his body or bring him back? True friends they are. I hope that if I ever get transported into a movie with my homies, they would care about me enough not to just leave me being eaten and decomposed by movie bugs. Damn it! The gang sit down, traumatized by what they've just witnessed with Drunken, as the counselors do a cute little singing circle. Not a care in the world. That's when Paula rocks up, the badass final girl of the movie. They decide to go along with Duncan's plan of sticking with Paula until the movie ends. Knowing that Billy shows up whenever the characters have sex or take their shirts off, Max tells everyone to serve as literal human cock blockers and stop everyone from banging, even though Vicky calls Max out for being delusional and thinking that it's really her mother. Gertie and Blake have a cute little nerd moment talking about their pins together. He asks where Duncan is, and Gertie says that he's napping somewhere. LOL. Kurt, the jock stereotype that he is, talks about banging women and then grossly asks Chris if he and Max are a thing, and says he wouldn't mind hooking up with her himself. And nah, Chris is not having that shit. Meanwhile, Tina finds Vicky's Adderall case and asks what they are, only to be told that they're not for her, like she's some dog being denied a treat. Then Vicky asks Paula where the chainsaws are kept, warning her that it's about to go down at this camp. We don't actually get much from Paula other than her looking cool and moody and final girly. Nancy's in the bedroom preparing to have sex with Kurt, just like in the real movie scene when Max interrupts and demands she get dressed so that she doesn't get hurt. Insecure and vulnerable, they have a little heart-to-heart before Kurt comes in shirtless and stripping, which we all know is a call for disaster. Here comes Billy Boy, sex hater number 1. Gertie screams downstairs, having seen Billy through a window, and everyone gathers together to see what's wrong. They don't believe Gertie when she says Billy is coming for them, saying that Billy isn't real but just an urban legend. Nancy starts telling the flashback story of Billy just like in the movie, when the environment starts distorting, pulling everyone into the black and white flashback. They watch a young Billy getting bullied by the counselors as Nancy's godlike voiceover retells the story of him locking himself in the outhouse. The counselors throwing the firecrackers in, which burnt all over his body. Billy made a mask to hide his awful scars and vouched to seek revenge on counselors from that day forward, killing 8 counselors that night, 1 for each night he has to spend in a hospital bed. Now, legend has it that he still lives in the woods in his own little secret shack and waits, ready to pounce. Gertie comes out of the flashback with blood on her face from a splatter from the flashback murders, and all the counselors fully freak out and try to run away. Paula and Kurt drive off in her car while Duncan pops out from the woods, revealing that he is not dead, except they immediately run Duncan over, so I guess we're 2 for 2 with deaths caused by driving accidents now. Paula crashes the car and Kurt flies out and his bones get totally f***ed. So 3 for 3. And then the car explodes. Vehicular manslaughter is 4 for 4. Sorry, Paula. Now, I'm not going to say too much about the car crashes because that's just funny at this point. But guys, this is why they should have checked on Duncan and not just randomly left his body in the woods. Peep game, right? He was alive this whole time. He could have been helping you. And Duncan, maybe don't just run into the middle of the road, man. Like, he literally just ran into the middle of the road when there was lots of open spaces available. So car accidents aside, there are definitely things our gang could have done once they were in the flashback. Like, I don't know, kill flashback Billy? Now, we're not sure if the butterfly effect would work within the rules of this movie, but it's worth a shot, right? Try to get rid of the villain before he becomes the villain, so the movie isn't even a situation to begin with. The gang just watches the flashback happen, but they should really be more proactive about this. People always say that if they could go back time, they would take out baby Hitler, right? But would they really? And sure, maybe they don't want to kill flashback Billy, but they could at least stop the bullying and protect him. If you know the guy's violent, murderous rampage was started by this incident, I'd try to stop the incident from happening. I would also use this newfound flashback world to my advantage. If it's established that things in the flashback can be brought back into the real movie world world, like the blood on Gertie's face, maybe they could use that as a tool to go into the flashback and bring back more shit that they need, like the car from the other counselors, or the firecrackers, or any other weapons or resources that they can think of. The cars have killed enough of them, surely, but they can use them to kill Billy somehow. Lastly, Paula literally has another car up until she crashes it. If they're still trying to get out by driving, or at least just getting away far enough and for long enough to wait out the movie, they could have used that before she fully got all exploded and shit. Especially after watching Duncan die. I would take my safety a little bit more seriously and try to get as far away as possible. But I guess just going along with the movie and stopping everyone from having sex works as well. It sort of feels like these characters are just letting shit happen to them and letting the movie play out in front of them, instead of being proactive and actively trying to make things change. Knowing that Paula was supposed to be the movie's final girl and she was the only one who could kill Billy, Vicky has an outburst and tells everyone that this is a stupid movie and none of the counselors are real people, but just characters. Which I totally understand was out of frustration on her part, but come on, you don't tell people in a movie that they're in a movie, do you? Either way, the gang lay it all out for the characters and explain that they're in a horror movie and Billy is really after them all, and that their only chance to survive is to refrain from any sex and nudity, especially Tina's striptease that's scripted for later in the movie. To stop Tina's stripping temptations, they put her boobs under a life jacket arrest and her arms and hands in mittens. Since Paula is dead now, they decide that they need to nominate a new final girl to kill Billy. Vicky volunteers, but Chris and Gertie quickly point out that Vicky isn't a virgin, so that's not gonna work. The only virgin is Max. According to Duncan, R.I.P., the only way to kill Billy is through his own machete, as everything else just slows him down. So the gang needs to get Billy's machete into Max's hands so that she can chop his head off, end the movie, and they can all go home. Seeing Max's hesitance, Nancy volunteers to be the final girl, but is told off by Vicky, who says being the final girl just isn't in her DNA. Nancy is meant to be the shy, quiet girl with the guitar who sleeps with the jock and gets killed as a part of the movie's body count. Offended that she's destined to amount to nothing in her fake movie life, Nancy runs out crying and Max follows. Nancy sobs about never being able to grow up and have kids if she's destined to die here, and recounts a dream that she had about graduating college, being a guy, having a baby girl, and wanting to protect her and give her the world. Max tearfully comforts her and encourages her to fight back. The gang devise a plan to catch Billy with Operation Booby Trap, where Tina will be the bait. They set up all their traps, Home Alone style. Now, before we get into their booby traps, I'm going to share what I immediately thought of. Instead of using Tina as human bait to lure Billy with a striptease, I would try to summon Billy by breaking the rules of the movie that they're in and beating it at its own game. The movie is meta, and the gang hears Billy's villain music every single time he approaches, because it's established that this music really exists as a diegetic sound in this world, just like the godlike voiceover that they hear in the sky during the flashbacks. They could use their cell phones to record it. Sure, they don't have cell phone service, but we know Duncan's phone camera worked from his failed selfie attempt, so the video and audio recording should work too. Once they have a recording of this music, I bet that playing it back in some loud sort of projection would summon Billy to appear. It's a summer camp. It shouldn't be that hard to find a megaphone or a speaker or something. Now, this might not work, but given the way that the movie is set up where characters literally interact with the world around them, I'd bet that Billy is triggered by the tropes and the movie rules that bind him, too. Now, as for methods of killing him, if the only way to kill Billy is through his machete, we really need to narrow down and focus on getting his machete. Like I mentioned before, one option would be going into the flashback to grab Billy's machete in that camper room by ambushing him. I assume the flashback scene stays the same, and given that they literally know what happens, they have an advantage and the element of surprise. It would be so easy to sneak up on him. Plus, he's still like a teenager here and much easier to fight than the huge masked psycho he is now. Another idea would be, again, using Paula's car or Kurt's van.
Cars have
proven to be fucking deadly in this movie, so get Kurt's van and plan to just run him over.
I like
you
him as a person.
Outnumber
He's
Billy and have the advantage of attacking from all angles. So I would spread out and really utilize space instead of just cramming them together and waiting to die in the counselor's house, where there are so many external variables and things are more likely to go wrong. If Billy is as strong as we know it, we know we're going to need some large tools. And what's better than flooring it with a huge freaking car? Billy is at his most dangerous when he's mobile, so
Billy
it's
has
not his whole body. We really need to find a way to target his legs, arm, or just stop him from moving. We know that he's strong, but it's not like he has superpowers. He can't fly and He's still prone to being blind if his face was covered. It's a classic, but given they're campers in the forest, they could dig a huge animal trap type pit in the ground and cover it with leaves to disguise it and put weapons and spikes and at the bottom, which would be an easy trap for Billy to fall into and be unreachable. Being unreachable is the main thing because that's how he slashes you the hell up. So any sort of distance you can create between yourself and him would be an advantage. Now once he's in the pit and you're above, you're again at an advantage where he can't reach you, and you can literally do whatever you want to him. Hell, throw some firecrackers down at him if you want to. But don't bring him into the house where it's difficult to get out, and he can use weapons and stuff in the environment against you. No, don't do that.
Coming to terms with the fact that she might very well die tonight, Vicky breaks down in front of Max and Gertie and apologizes for their falling out, saying she misses their friendship before Max's mom died, and she's sorry for irrationally getting jealous once Max and Gertie became close friends instead. She encourages Max to be brave, and they all reconcile. Meanwhile, Tina, left alone, finds Vicky's Adderall. We know 2015 Adderall is about to blow this 80s girl's mind. Nancy and Max prepare flaming arrows together and have another heart-to-heart where Nancy asks Max what her mother is like. She gives Max a friendship bracelet and admits that she's really going to miss her when this is all over. Still clinging onto this character played by her mother, Max says that if Nancy survives the movie, then she should come home with her to start over and live her life how she wants to live it. The gang finds Tina fully coked up on Adderall, who is giving feral hyena right now, but they opt to stick with the original plan of using her as striptease bait because they don't really have another option. They get into positions and Tina's crazy strip show begins, which is definitely more aggressive than it is sexy. But hey, Billy doesn't discriminate when it comes to women sexualizing themselves. He emerges from the fog as soon as Vicky flashes her boobs, but freaking out, Vicky runs backwards into the tripwire that they set up and falls into a bear trap meant for Billy. That's a fucking brutal death. Luckily, their second trap works, as they hit Billy with a totem pole into some horned antlers that they set up against the back of the door. And Gertie and Blake kiss in celebration, as if they're forgetting what kind of movie that they're in. Blake goes to grab Billy's machete and is immediately stabbed to death. Billy pursues the rest of them in the house and isn't affected by the flaming arrows at all. Their hanging bucket trap to light Billy on fire gets stuck, and Billy shoves a bookcase down on top of Vicky and Gertie, trapping them. Billy stabs Gertie through the bookcase with a brutal sloshy slash, and Vicky tearfully encourages Max and Chris to escape through the window without her. But as she heroically pulls the bucket down and lights the whole room ablaze, Billy jumps out of the window in dramatic slow motion, flaming machete in hand, and chases after Max, Nancy, and Chris.
I have a structured settlement and I need cash now. I admit, some of these traps were pretty good, but the decisions they made were so stupid. The tripwire and the bear trap on the floor are awesome, but did they really think having the girl high on Adderall would be a reliable and safe choice to do this? They knew the girl was spazzing out and clearly scared. They should have had a planned and established route for her to take, like, okay, when Billy comes, you run off in this direction, out of the way. She could have just stepped aside to her right to join Chris, but she didn't know in the moment of panic, and that's on the whole group for not planning properly, okay? I mean, if you're gonna set somebody up as bait, it's common courtesy to communicate the plan and ensure their safety exit, right? And if she knew exactly where she was gonna go, maybe she wouldn't have to run backwards into her Saul-like death. And when Blake goes to grab Billy's machete, holy shit, We've talked about stabbing distance before, and people just keep rocking up next to him. Social distancing, people. All the characters know that the antlers wouldn't have killed Billy, so they should be aware that he's still a threat, even if he's temporarily stuck and looks immobile.
Because
if their goal was to grab his machete, they should have had some long tools at the ready, like brooms, poles, or hell, these walking sticks in the room to hit at his wrist from afar and make him drop it. With Billy up against the door, they could have done so much more to be productive. There's tons of furniture in the room, like the big cabinet in the kitchen. They could have tried to push more stuff up against him to trap him against the wall, not just leave him hanging there out in the freaking open to just pop back off. The moment he's temporarily immobile, they really need to act quicker and utilize that time. Get his machete, tie that bitch up, and off with his head. The characters all run upstairs and lure Billy into their next trap, but honestly, anything involving upstairs and a second level is just stupid. Remember what I said about planning escape routes?
Stupid.
They're jumping out of the window like it's nothing, but that alone could have gotten them killed. How did they plan to all get out that small-ass window in time?
They didn't plan this.
Safely?
They just went,
they really didn't think
we're
that
going to do it
through.
anyway.
And Gertie and Vicky's deaths were avoidable here. Really? You survive the whole damn movie and suddenly die because you're trapped under a bookcase? It was a stupid move to begin with, to hang out underneath a bookcase that can easily fall over you. And again, they should be utilizing furniture here. They had a ton of prep time, so they could have arranged the room a little better for easy escape and less obstacles on their way out. Or, better yet, could have planned the whole fire trap somewhere on the staircase and used the bookcase to block the door and buy them more time to get out themselves. This house was full of so much potential for traps, and they miffed them all. I mean, Kevin McAllister from Home Alone would be embarrassed. With Billy closing in on them, Max quickly tells Nancy to start reciting her flashback lines and retell Billy's origin story, as that would prompt the world back into flashback mode. Once in the flashback, Billy is hit by the car of the counselors and drops his machete, which Max immediately grabs. See, what did I totally say would work before? They follow the young Billy to his secret barn hideaway when the masked Billy emerges again.
Billy.
Nancy quickly finishes the flashback story to end it, hoping Billy would be stuck and left there, but he's not. At least now he's machete-less. Except Billy stabs Chris with a small dagger and uses Max's temporary distraction to grab Nancy and carry her away. Chris tells Max to just let her go since Nancy is as good as dead, and Max refuses to believe that. Max takes Chris to a chapel for shelter, where Chris again tells Max that Nancy was meant to die and she's just a character and not Max's real mom. He says that he doesn't want to die, and Max promises that he won't, and she'll be back to help him before leaving with the machete in hand. Max goes to Billy's secret barn that they saw in their flashback, figuring that's where they are, and looks for Nancy. She finds her tied up to a chair and unties her, and the two immediately get into a fight with Billy. Billy stabs Max with his dagger, and then Nancy stabs Billy with his machete and helps Max to safety back in the chapel with Chris, who is still alive. I mean, he's just chilling there. Nancy selflessly tells Max that the only way Max can survive is if Nancy sacrifices herself, because there can be only one final girl. Max finally tells her that Nancy is her mother in the real world, and the two have a heartfelt goodbye. Nancy walks out into the open field and does her own striptease to lure Nancy out to kill her, and performs it for Max as Max watches, which is sort of strange but also really sweet in the moment. I mean, come on, she stripteases to Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes, which was their song that played on the radio when she died. Remember? Billy comes up behind Nancy and stabs her right through the middle. Max, awakening with her newfound final girl power, grabs the machete and charges at Billy head-on for an epic final showdown. She hashes and slashes and pulls a sick Neo bullet dodge against Billy's dagger and beheads him in a final epic slice. The clouds part and credits of the movie play through the sky as Max watches. She's the final girl, and she made it to the end of the movie. Chris, still wounded, comes out to comfort her, and the two kiss, having made it out alive together. They're suddenly cut to an MPAA rating title card, and the movie seems to rewind, transporting them out. Max wakes up in the hospital next to Chris, with their friends Drunken, Gertie, and Vicky alive next to them, all having made it out. They celebrate being home, and Duncan shows off his machete wound to prove that it wasn't just a dream.
while Max looks fondly down at the friendship bracelet that Nancy gave her. Suddenly, they hear Billy's sinister music as doctors at the front desk begin hooking up, and fucking surprise, Duncan realizes that they aren't back in the real world, but are in fact stuck in the sequel now, Camp Bloodbath 2 Cruel Summer, because the screening that they went to was a double feature after all, wasn't it? While Duncan idiotically fangirls about how the sequel was cooler than the original, and Max confidently charges at Billy, ready to fight again. Now I have to say, that final fight scene between Max and Billy, it was epic. But maybe it doesn't even matter, because it turns out that these guys didn't actually survive or make it out of the movie in the end. And their story isn't over yet, because now they all have to get through the fucking sequel together. But knowing what we know about this universe, its characters, and Billy himself, that would actually be a big help in how to survive in the sequel. First of all, Duncan is back, our Camp Bloodbath walking Wikipedia page, so hopefully they can use him as a resource this time before he dies. He knew how to kill Billy in the first movie, so he'll know how to kill him in this one too. Another beheading, perhaps? If it's a matter of getting his machete and slicing his head off again, that should be fairly straightforward, especially being in a hospital. They have loads of tools and weapons in here, and way more hiding spaces. Also, if they're suddenly alive in the sequel even though they died in the first movie, does that mean that they as people are invincible in these movies? That totally just brought the stakes down and they have nothing to worry about then. Either way, Max looks ready as so maybe they'll be able to speedrun this time. In the very end of the movie, fun cast bloopers play over the credits, which are, yes, real credits of this movie and not the fake credits of the movie that they're in. Anyways, a tiny clip reveals that Kurt's character might have actually survived and made it to the sequel too, though it's unclear whether that actually exists in the canon of the Camp Bloodbath universe, or if it was a real deleted scene from this movie, The Final Girls. Too meta for you? Either way, good for him. Cool movie, right? The Final Girls, 2015. Yeah, I mean, this movie was shot ridiculously well for what it is, and you have to give it all the way down to the guy that shot it, the director for having that vision, and the cast for pulling it off. And if you would have done anything differently in this video, you gotta let me know down in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe for your boy, and check out that How to Beat playlist for more videos just like this one. I'm the guy. We'll see you in the next video, and have a damn good day.
Really entertaining. And really a way to show that sometimes we can make bad choices and you have to see it through to the end. So, until the next time, take care of yourselves and each other. I am so sorry that this has been about the alcohol. I think it is the dumbest thing I have ever tried to do in my life. So, if anybody else thinks this is a smart idea, I'm going to tell you it is not. It is something we can choose to do, but know very well it is the dumbest thing you will ever choose to do in your life. So until next time, take care of yourselves. And each other.